Hey guys, it's Trevor. I kind of wanted to make a quick video in response to a couple of questions that I got about what I brought with me on Isle Royale. So this is just another gear list video, but I'm going to go over what I brought, what personally worked for me, and maybe this is something that you can consider, some of the gear items in here. But anyway, let's dive right in, starting with our feet. So for this trip, I brought the Sportiva Wildcats trail runners. They are really lightweight, super breathable. I had only slight issue with these. The heel's a little too small for my foot, so I did end up developing blisters, I think, on the 4th day of the trip, but they weren't really debilitating. Then for Gaiters, these are Dirty Girl Gaiters. I think I just picked the top collar one because I'm like, this this looked hilarious to me, and so that's what I went with for Gaiters. Keep sticks and rocks and dirt kind of out of your socks and shoes, so you don't get a stick or a rock in there and you have to stop and take off your shoe, and just prevents that. Then socks. These are the Darn Tough quarter cushion Vermont socks. I brought 3 pairs, 2 for hiking and 1 for sleeping. All 3 were the same, of these Darn Tough quarter cushion. Underwear. These are the ExOfficio Give and Go boxer briefs, I want to say, and I believe they are the 6-inch or 9-inch. And yeah, that's what I wore. Boxers. Then shorts. These are actually swim trunks. These are the Patigonia Baggies, I want to say. They were great. We got tons of rain, and the reason I went with swim trunks is I wanted something that was breathable, but also would, if it got wet, it could dry quickly. I ended up cutting the lining out of the inside of them, but these worked great. Had no issue with them at any point in the trip. Shirt. This is just a standard Champion Vapor performance tee. Super cheap. You can buy them like anywhere, like Dick's Sporting Goods, or I think I got this off Amazon. But yeah, super cheap, super breathable. If it gets wet, dries out. Also helps with to prevent chafing when you use these more performance styled t-shirts. Then on my head, I wore a trucker cap for the trip, and if you've seen my Isle Royale video, you'll probably see that in there. I sweat a lot, so this is more like a sweat guard, and it kind of helps keep the sun out of your eyes. I'm not really a hat wearer too often. I mean, I do occasionally, but whenever I'm on trail, I'm always bringing a hat. And then let's go over my trekking poles. These are the Black Diamond somethings. They're the aluminum and cork version. These were great not only for hiking. Over the wet, slippery rock is where I primarily used these. When we were kind of in the forested sections, the trail was so overgrown that I ended up carrying these more. But they also double as my tent poles. So I'll never hike without trekking poles just because I use them for tent poles. And then around, I brought way too much duct tape. But this helps, acts as a band-aid, put some toilet paper on there, and tape up any wounds or fixing holes and stuff. All right, so that's it, I believe, for the stuff that I was carrying and wearing. So let's dive into the pack. So for this trip, I brought, this is the Osprey Exos 58 liter pack. It's a great pack. I ended up hiking without the top lid is removable. I didn't feel like I needed the space, and I didn't need the organizational features. So it worked great without that. It would have been much more filled with 7.5 days of food. This, was piling up here, but because there's no food in here, you can see it's kind of low. So starting on the outside of the pack, we'll start with these guys, which these are just your standard Crocs, and I brought these for camp shoes. It was really great to have camp shoes because we were in camp for so long. Most days we were getting to camp around 3 p.m., sometimes earlier. I think one day we got in a little bit later. But when you have that many hours at camp, it's nice to be able to wear like something as comfortable as Crocs. On shorter trips, I probably wouldn't bring these, but because we were on the island for 8 days, these were great camp and town shoes on the end of the island in Wendigo. It's just nice to change out of, you know, your wet shoes, and you got these things. So definitely would bring these to Isle Royale again. Maybe something lighter, but camp shoes were awesome on Isle Royale. Also on here, I have thermometer. There's no real reason to bring a thermometer other than I like to know the temperature, what it got down to at night and what it got up to during the day when we were hiking. I'm kind of a weather nerd. I geek out about that kind of stuff, so that's why my nickname's Doppler. But anyway, yeah, brought that. Also on the outside here, I have a Spot Gen 3 GPS locator. This thing is just a peace of mind item. I wouldn't say you need this for Isle Royale, but because there is no cell phone reception except on some of the higher mountains on the island or ridges, you're basically without cell phone service for your entire trip. So this is just peace of mind. You know, if I break a leg and I can't for any reason get to a campsite or get to somewhere down by the water, it's just nice to have. So I ended up bringing it, and it's also kind of cool to see your little tracks as you go along. There's an app that you can link up to, and I can also communicate, like send out a default message like, hey, I'm okay, I'm at camp, or another one where maybe I stopped somewhere along the trail for a long time to eat lunch or whatever, and I can send a I'm okay, I'm just not moving thing. But yeah, so let's dive into the front pockets. In here I brought a lighter, which I didn't put in here, but there's a lighter and a multi-tool. I didn't end up using the multi-tool. It was kind of a larger, heavier multi-tool, so it's something that I wouldn't bring again. Maybe a Leatherman Squirt, which is a really small multi-tool, but I didn't really need a knife or anything, but it is nice to have. So in the future, I'm probably going to bring something smaller. In this front mesh pocket is my rain cover. This is the Dutchware Rainfly or pack cover, whatever it's called. Dutchware gear on their website. Super cheap. I think it was like 15 bucks or something stupid. And the first day we had driving wind and rain. So this pack, except for, you know, the straps and maybe these front straps, everything was 100% dry in an all-day driving wind and rain hike. So definitely recommend it. I poked that thing on a few trees, and there's no holes or rips or anything. So getting into the front mesh pocket, I have my rain jacket. This is the Patagonia Torrentshell rain jacket. It's got a lot of nice features. It does have pit zips and front pockets, so a lot of the lighter rain jackets don't have things like that. But I've had this thing for about 3 years now, so I think it's lost a lot of its waterproof coating that they put on there. So the first day, it definitely, and I'm not sure, it might have been just like condensation from me hiking and maybe sweating a bit on the inside. It did get a little moist, but it wasn't like, or a little damp. It didn't get very, it wasn't like water getting through it. This is something I'm looking at switching out here this year, but that's another video for another time. Also in here is Tyvek ground sheet. This is just nice, especially on the rainier days. You know, you don't have to put your tent in, you know, a mud festival and it's also nice when packing up. You can put your gear out, spread it out kind of on your ground sheet. That's something I'm probably swapping out as well. I'm going to be moving towards polycro. This is a sit pad. I did not bring a chair or anything, so this is just a comfort item. I used it as a sit pad. It's a Dutchware sit pad, by the way. Same company that makes my Rainfly. I used this for fanning a fire at one of the campsites, and then I'd put it under my feet on a couple of the colder nights, just to kind of insulate my feet a little bit more, because they did get a little chilly. I think the lowest temperature we saw was around 41 degrees, so it was nice to have that. Then we've got my water system. This is an Evernew 2-liter water bag. I brought 2 of these on the island. I didn't need to bring 2 of the bags because, I mean, there was one time where I had to bring water into camp, so we stopped at a creek because one of the lakes, we got word that there was blue-green algae bloom in it. So if you don't know what that is, it's kind of, some of the lakes on the island have this algae that in warmer months, especially late season, August, these algae blooms will start to develop, and then it basically makes the water poisonous. You can't boil that out of there because it would just make the bacteria or whatever's in algae grow more. So you can't like boil out the water. You can't filter it. It'll clog your filters. So yeah, I did end up using this to carry in an extra 2 liters or 4 liters total into it to one camp, so I could have plenty of water for at camp at night and then hiking out the next day to get to the next stream or water source. This is the Sawyer Squeze filter, very popular filter. The only thing I changed was I put a smart water cap from one of the smaller bottles on there. No real purpose for that. I just thought it looked cool with that on there. Little blue to accent the other blue. And then this is just a half of a water bottle. I don't know why I cut off the cap part of the water bottle and not the bottom part, but I used this every single time when I was filtering water on the island. It makes it so much faster just to scoop water out of the source, or whether it be a lake or a creek, and just pour it into the bag. I mean, unless you had like a waterfall or like a nice spot, which I didn't come across anything like that on the island, I'd use this every single time. Next in here is bear bagging kit to hang your food at night. I didn't end up hanging my food at night. I slept with it in my tent, but what I did use this for was a clothesline, and this is just standard paracord. This I might swap out for maybe a lighter gauge line. This is nice paracord, slides really great over branches, and I tried using some Zing It, and it was just a little too difficult to get my food bag up and down because the line would just catch and dig into the branch. So yeah, I may try swapping to something different as far as line is concerned, but this was great. And then last in here is my headlamp. This is the Black Diamond Spot. It's got a lot of nice features. It has, you know, the red mode, standard spotlight mode, and then like a strobe mode. I love this thing, but I would definitely consider switching to something lighter. It uses AAA batteries. I didn't have to like swap out batteries at any point on the island. I did bring spare AAAs just in case. And I did do some early morning hiking where it was pitch black when I left camp the last day. So this is great, but if I was going back to Isle Royale, I'd go with something smaller and lighter, maybe that's rechargeable, just to kind of save a couple ounces, because I believe this weighs like, I don't know, 2.6 ounces or something like that, which is a little heavy for a headlamp. And then what I don't have in here, I had just 1 liter smart water bottle, bottles for water. So I brought 2 1 liter bottles to carry my water in throughout the day. All right, getting into the main compartment of the pack. Let me just undo a couple of these little cables here. At the top, I have a ditty bag, and I didn't have this bag, but it's just what is my setup now. I used just a Ziploc Cork freezer bag. But in here, I had like first aid kit and cleaning things, so like some Purell, Body Glide, safety pin, some of this foam first aid tape. It's kind of the squishier foamy tape, which is nice to put on blisters. Some tweezers, and this, I don't even know why this is in here, but this is deodorant. I didn't bring it. I actually bought this at the Wendigo store our last day, which ended up being our last 2 days. And then medicine, I just bring ibuprofen and like 3 anti-diarrheal tablets. Yeah, that's it for that. Some toothpaste and a toothbrush. And that is my little ditty bag there. Underneath that is wet ones and toilet paper. There's no toilet paper in here right now, but wet ones are amazing. It's kind of like a little shower after using the restroom. There's that. I brought a bandana to use as a camp towel and kind of a sweatband sort of deal. But I ended up bringing an extra towel, which is this ShamWow. One of the guy's wife supplied him with 3 of these like ShamWow things, and then he gave us each one. And this thing's amazing because you can get it completely soaked and then wring it out like the ShamWow commercial, and it really did work. And I think I'd bring this ShamWow again on all my trips. Underneath that is cook kit. This is the Toaks 700 milliliter pot or 750 milliliter pot, not really sure. It's the wider version, so I think like the 110 millimeter version. So in here I have my stove, which is the MSR Pocket Rocket 2. I bought this a couple of days before the trip. I normally use a cat canister stove or a fuel alcohol stove, which is smaller and about 1/3 of the weight of this stove. But I did some calculating, and the amount of fuel alcohol that I would have to bring weighed less than one of the big cans of fuel that these use. So I ended up bringing that instead. Also in here is my Spork. This is the Toaks titanium folding Spork. This thing's really good. It does kind of break easily, and by break I mean you can even having it this little thing that slides down here, if you're digging into something you can pop it out, which was kind of annoying. So I may switch to like a long-handled spoon. I just have never found a good place in my pack to put a long-handled spoon. So this fits nicely in here and keeps it organized. Also in here is a second Bic. Probably didn't need this full Bic. Could have used like the mini Bics, save a couple grams. Underneath that, we'll keep on the fuel thing. This is a large MSR fuel bottle. It weighs 13 ounces total. I didn't need this full bottle. I was boiling for breakfast and dinners every day. My lunches were all Cliff bars, basically. So I didn't need to boil anything for lunch. So if I was going again on the same trip across the island in, what did we have, 6 days hiking, or 7 days hiking, 6 days sleeping, something like that. I could go with a smaller one, like the 4-ounce bottle or whatever it is. Then in the water part of this pack, I stored my electronics kit. Because I was filming like a kind of a vlog of the trip, I brought 2 Anchor 1300 milliamp, I believe, battery packs. These were a little overkill. I still had juice left in my phone at night. I believe I could have gotten away with one, but if I were going to Isle Royale again, yeah, I'd bring one. But because we didn't have cell phone service, I had my phone in airplane mode the whole time. I had, you know, it on low battery mode, so at the end of the day, even after filming all day, I'd have like 30% battery left in my phone. So yeah, if I'm going somewhere where I have cell phone service, sure, bring two, but it really wasn't necessary to bring two. Underneath that would be my clothes bag. So these are extra clothes that I brought. So this is the Zpacks Medium Plus pillow dry bag. So on one side they have sewn in fleece, if you're not familiar with it. So it doubled as my camp pillow. So in here I have gloves, outdoor research gloves. I don't know the name of them, but my hands get cold at night, and in general I have cold hands. So I loved having gloves to sleep in. Base layer is next. These are the Patagonia Capilene lightweight shirt. I would probably switch this out for like a mid-weight or a thermal version of the Capilene, just because this is like a little too light. So when it was 50 degrees in the evening, I'd still be a little chilly, at least on like my arms, without my puffy on. Then spare boxers are in here. These are just the Capilene pants. There's my other glove. So yeah, same thing as the shirt, but lightweight pants as well. Extra pair of hiking socks, and then I'd have an extra pair of sleeping socks. Those aren't in here right now. Underneath that is my puffy. This is the Zshow down jacket. So this thing is $30 on Amazon or $40 on Amazon. It weighs like 7 ounces, so it's stupid light and stupid cheap. It has a ton of down in it, but the quality of the down that they use isn't very good, so it's not as warm as like a different puffy, and maybe that puffy that's in the shop behind me. So I did end up switching to a different hiking puffy. But it's great. If you want to get a cheap down jacket, I highly recommend it. It's just not as warm as some of the more expensive options. This is a beanie for my head when I'm sleeping. And then here's the pillow dry bag, fleece, just kind of inside out, so you can see. This is a little too big. I think I would get just the medium version if I was going to buy it again, but I'm not going to buy it again because this is fine. I have one that works. Maybe if this thing rips a hole in it or something, I'll swap it out, but not now. Then under that would be my food bag. So this is the Zpacks, just a food bag, I believe it's called. This thing is awesome. I used to use like a Sea to Summit cylindrical shaped bag or dry bag. You guys are probably familiar with those. But having switched to this more square shaped bag, this thing fits so well inside the pack. The cylinder shaped ones, it's always, you can't put it sideways in the pack because it's too long, because I used the 13-liter one. If you put it vertical, then you have to think, okay, how am I going to offset this weight? Am I going to put things on the side of it? So this is great. So you can have this, it just takes up the entire width of your pack, and it fit 10 pounds of food, which is what I brought with me. It was 9 pounds and some odd ounces on the island for 7.5 days of food. Yeah, highly recommend this thing. I did get one small little abrasion in it. It's not a hole, but it looks like I just scratched it a little bit. But yeah, awesome thing. Highly recommend it. Zpacks.com. Next we have my quilt. This is the Enlightened Equipment Revalation 40-degree quilt. This is my favorite piece of gear that I brought on the trip. It's if you're not familiar with quilts, definitely check them out. If you're using a sleeping pad, I highly recommend getting a quilt because your sleeping pad will insulate you from the ground and you don't need the extra weight, and they're just so versatile. I mean, you can wear them at camp, you know, just hanging out by the fire to sleep in. They've got these foot boxes that can be, you know, all tightened up, so you've got a nice warm foot box. This thing I got to test at its lower limits. I didn't bring the pad straps that come with the quilt. So this is a 40 degree, and like I said, it got down to 41 at night. Because of all the layers that I was wearing, and I think the 41 night, I even put on my raincoat over top of my down jacket when I was sleeping, and I was toasty warm. So I think if I didn't have that, I would have been a little chilly. But yeah, it was super comfortable and super toasty. If I was going back to the island in that season, I might bring my 20 degree quilt, which weighs like 5 ounces more than this. This thing's like 14 point something ounces, 14.9 ounces, something like that. Yeah, I'd just bring it so I wouldn't have to sleep in so many layers, because I kind of don't like sleeping in layers. Get a little more comfortable when I'm not. And then last thing in here is my sleeping pad. This is the Big Agnes Air Core sleeping pad. It's an older version that they don't make anymore, but it's super comfortable. It comes in around 19 ounces. But yeah, it's just amazingly comfortable for me. I did try the Neo Air X Lite, and the one night that I slept on it, I was just not... I heard a lot of people complaining about the noise of it, but it just wasn't as comfortable as this thing for me. So for the 5 or 6 ounces more that this is, yeah, it's just a comfort item, basically, comfort weight at that point. And then this is a Neo Air pump sack that I used as kind of a barrier for my quilt and my sleeping pad, just to keep it kind of dry from the rest of the stuff, or keep it protected, just in case my pack got saturated, just a little extra layer. This is not a dry sack, but it is seam taped, so I assume it's at least a little waterproof besides the hole in the bottom of it. I would not bring this again though. This is a waste of weight. Yeah. That's my opinion on there. And then at the bottom we have a tent. Oh no, we don't have a tent. I did bring a tent. I used the Tarptent Notch. That thing is amazing. Henry Shire or something like that over there makes fantastic equipment. Highly recommend it. I just ended up selling it because I picked up a new shelter, and I didn't really feel like I needed to hang on to a piece of gear that I wasn't going to use. So I sold it to somebody. I gave them a great deal on it, and you know, hopefully whoever it ended up with, they will enjoy it. It's a great tent. I just wanted more room, so I ended up switching to a 2-person tent. That's actually lighter, but that's another video for another time. All right, that is it for the gear that I brought on Isle Royale. If you have any questions about some of the gear that you saw in this video, feel free to drop a comment down below. Go ahead and hit the like button if you liked what you saw. If you want to see more videos from me in the future, hit the subscribe button. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.